Anthony Adebayo.
With you there, but if you're a coach, do you take that chance?
Yes.
You can reach us at the Off the Record Show at gmail.com. Anthony Adebayo and the most accurate sports coverage. Scotty B's Fantasy 5.
We're different from any other sport.
His sophomore year. Comes back and says, you know what?
And your boy, Scotty B.
What up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm here. Yeah, man. It's been that's what people don't understand. All these electronics and making sure that the mics work, and I don't even know if the mics work right now as we're talking.
Nah, man, they probably do. I'm sure a couple of people let us know.
They're gonna let us know, and they're gonna yell at us and things like that. But man, what's going on, man? How you feeling? How was your weekend? The holiday weekend, extra day?
So holiday weekend was good. Nice, relaxing holiday weekend. Yeah, I've been good. I've been really good. I know we're going to talk about it a ton. But baseball, man, some exciting news happened today with the recognition of, or even the consolidation of stats between Negro League and Major League Baseball. I think this was huge, and it was just long overdue.
Should have been done before we were born.
Should have been done well before we were born. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I have a bunch of comments.
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot of people out there that are not happy about this, right? And you know, we know who those people are. We understand, but there are a ton of people who are happy. I think that, like I just said, it should have been done decades ago because you know, a lot of those guys that were in the Negro League were alive. You know, now you have guys that have passed on. That yes, their stats they're gonna be recognized and things of that nature, but they don't really get to celebrate it. Now their families do, you know. But it would have been nice for some of those guys to be able to celebrate their stats being recognized as, you know, with the major leagues.
So it's one player that benefited the most from this. His name is Josh Gibson. Now, a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of postings online. I knew who he was, but a lot of people didn't know who he was. And a lot of people really kind of referred to him as the Black Babe Ruth. And if it was a lot of circles that consider Babe Ruth the Black Josh Gibson. The white Josh Gibson, just the way that he hit. He is, or in some baseball circles or baseball historians, considered the greatest home run hitter of all time. And, you know, I'm going somewhere with this, right? So he had a batting average of, I believe it was like 350 career. He had a season where his batting average was 467. And in 1947, you had a couple of things, right, that happened. You had Jackie Robinson that went into the major leagues. You had a couple other black players that went into the major leagues and integrated. But secretly, behind closed doors, most people felt that Josh Gibson was the best player in the Negro Leagues. He was the best player in 1946, best player in 1945. You want to guess what year he died?
Well, it's unfair that I have it right here. 1947.
He died in 1947. And a lot of people speculated, and there's no proof on this, is that tore him up, knowing that in his mind, he was the best player probably could have been the best player on the planet. I mean, because you got to look at the records that he's like replacing. I mean, he's replacing Ty Cobb, which has always been considered the greatest hitter of all time, at least from a batting average standpoint.
Right.
He's replacing Babe Ruth's OPS, the slugging percentage.
Yep.
He is regarded, if you take into account that what they can count, they said he's hit 800 home runs in between all the different games. He's recognized for 166 of those home runs, but throughout the course of his career, between him playing in the Dominican League, playing in Puerto Rico, playing in other just circuit games, it can be accounted for that he hit 800 home runs.
Wow.
And to not be able to play in the major leagues at that time, and it goes back to what you just said, and what sparked all this was long overdue.
Right.
I mean, this was long overdue to be that great at a sport and be recognized within your culture as like, yeah, you're the best, and to not get that validation to play against the best. That had to be a burden on him, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, among the other things that he had to deal with, especially at that time as a minority, I mean, I feel like if some of those athletes that played in the Negro Leagues played in the majors, when you had the Babe Ruths and you had the Mickey Mantles and all of these guys and that are revered, throughout, regarded as legends, would they be who they are if some of these Negro League athletes were able to play in the major leagues?
No, I think they still would have been good, but it would have been real interesting to see Josh Gibson and Babe Ruth go toe to toe.
Yeah.
It would have been real interesting to see Satchel Paige pitch against some of these guys. I mean, you look at, Jackie Robinson, I forget what year he won the MVP. And he had a couple of years that he could have won the MVP.
Yeah.
If he wasn't the best, just put that in perspective, right?
There are people that say that there were better players in the Negro Leagues than Jackie Robinson.
And look, I agree with what they were trying to do with Jackie Robinson. It had to be the right black athlete that had the temperament and can handle the pressure. So I think, watching the Jackie Robinson story, and you've watched it, everybody's watched it, and they know his story. Yeah, it had to be somebody of the right temperament to handle the times with it.
Yeah, I mean,
he put up with a lot.
I mean, just because I always feel like movies tell like part of the story. They never really tell, the full story, right? So what he went through hell in the movie. So I feel like it was probably 10 times worse than what we actually saw in the movie because it's but so much you can tell in the movie. But again, I think that it's great that it happened. I'm not gonna be one of those people that say it's about time, trying to be bitter, but it happened. Let's applaud that it happened. Yes, it should have happened ages ago, but it didn't. Now it has. So I think we kind of take the good with the bad. The bad being that it took so long. The good is that it actually happened, and they're recognizing it. So we'll see what Major League Baseball does. I mean, the All-Star game is coming up. Do they recognize some of those players at the All-Star game? I don't know, but
the biggest takeaway and what I want people to take away from this is the players that were highlighted that moved the mark. Go back and do your research on them because again, Josh Gibson, and just to get off tangent a little bit, my grandmother, as a kid, gave me it was a book, and I wish I still had this book, but it had like all the Negro League, just like stars and their stories, and it talked about a little bit of them. And it was a really, really, really good book. So that was my first introduction into the league and figuring it out. But I am glad that people will go do their research and figure out about these guys and some of their struggles and give them their just due. So that's my takeaway from it.
All right, so shout out. I guess you can say shout out to the to Major League Baseball for doing that. All right, do we head into NBA or is there any NFL you want to talk about?
I wanted to make sure that we gave that as just due.
Absolutely. So let's get into basketball. I think we're gonna be here for a while. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference first. I just want to let everybody know. That I hated the Eastern Conference playoffs this year. Aside from the Knicks in the playoffs, I promise you that the two best series were the Knicks and the Sixers and the Knicks and the Pacers. Aside from that, I could care less about, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I could care less about the Eastern Conference players. These were by far the worst set of playoff games that I have ever seen. Cleveland, Orlando was a dud. Boston versus everybody. What was it? Miami, Cleveland, and Indiana were dud. They were terrible to watch. I did not enjoy watching any of those games. But when I'll give congrats to Boston. They had to be the most fortunate team. I mean, this might have been the easiest road to the finals. I mean, granted, they were 12-2 in the playoffs. The best player for each team that they played got hurt every single round. Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, and Halliburton all got hurt. Ironic. That sometimes conspiracy theorists talk. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's a little funny. That's all.
No, yeah, I think so you're right. It is what it is. It was dreadful to really watch. So where it started is with Dame Lillard. And I'm not going to say anything negative about Dame Lillard, but I feel like we were hyped up to believe that Milwaukee was going to come out the East. And I think most people got behind that to where it's like, okay, Boston is there. Mm-hmm. For pretty much most of the year until Embiid got hurt, we were hyped up with the 76ers. They were going to be like the team. I never subscribed to the Heat, but I can see why you will always think that they should be there, right? You can't really count the Heat out.
Correct.
New York, I don't think anybody outside of New York Knicks fans were so that they were the team, but they were playing well throughout the year, so you kind of gave them their credit.
Right.
Everybody else, I mean, Indiana, I think
overachieved.
Yeah, well, I don't even think they overachieved. I think that they made some good moves at the trade deadline. We were excited about them at the beginning of the year. Halliburton had a tremendous year. I mean, we couldn't deny that. But you're right, it was a snooze fest. And when you really when you get down to it, nobody was going to beat Boston out of that group.
Right.
It was kind of like the old Mayweather fights, right? Somebody will come in, they'll say, "Oh yeah, this guy Cano, yeah, he could take Mayweather," and maybe you believe that until you actually see the fight. And I believe that's what happened with the Eastern Conference playoffs is we psyched ourselves out to believe these teams were better than they were. And I'll go back to you and Colin Cowherd. I mean, you guys talked about the Indiana Pacers, and I mean, that sound it wasn't good basketball. It wasn't good basketball to watch.
It wasn't, man. And it's unfortunate because then you go to the West. Series is like, yo, this is the best series ever. Listen, who did OKC play in the first round? They played was it New Orleans? It was New Orleans.
Yeah.
And can't remember if they swept New Orleans, but those were good games. They were entertaining games. You had OKC and Dallas. Those yes, it went 6. It went 6 or 5, whatever it was. But they were entertaining games, you know.
So I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we're going to get to, we're going to dissect a lot of this, right?
Right.
There's a lot of people that think Boston, no matter what, is going to be champions. I know you. Yeah, it's a lot of people that feel like that Dallas nor Minnesota could beat Boston.
Who?
It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people that feel like with Drew Holiday, with Jason Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, that like it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to be like the champions.
I don't feel like that.
I know you don't, but a lot of people do feel like that. They feel like
I don't feel like that at all. I don't think I and this may be jumping out the window. I think it's a closer series if they play Minnesota, mainly because Minnesota has an uphill challenge right now, and if Minnesota finds a way, which I'm not counting them out, but if Minnesota finds a way to win this series, I think that they're going to exert so much energy that is going to cost them the championship, possibly. But I think whoever wins the series, and again, it changes a little bit because it was 3-0. But if Dallas wins this series, I think that the bigs of Dallas are going to dominate the bigs of Boston.
You really think Minnesota has an opportunity to win the series?
I don't count them out. I think that Minnesota. So here's the thing: we've talked about Anthony Edwards the last few weeks, like he was the best player in basketball, and I feel like when he's locked in, he's probably the best player in basketball. I feel like Karl Anthony Towns can do enough, and I think that with Gobert is a better matchup against Boston than any of those Western Conference teams, because I heard something yesterday and it was comparing Luka and Jason Tatum and trying to say that Luka's way better than Jason Tatum is just stupid. I don't agree to that at all. Because Jason Tatum has been highly successful in the league. You can say what you want about his team. He's been the best
conference finals the last 3 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is his. Yeah. So this is his second trip to the finals, and Luka hasn't won the West. He's been to 2 conference finals, whatever. With that being said, I feel like Minnesota does have, if they find a way to, they can win. They're gonna win Game 5. I'm telling you that right now. They're gonna win.
Okay, so they're at home. It's setting up for Game 7. They're going back to. So that's when I'll be a believer.
If it goes all the way to Game 7, what?
Yeah, I mean they've got a lot. So what?
They've had a lead in the last 3 minutes every game,
and that's what scares me is their inexperience is starting to show right now, and we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they're faced against the Kyrie and the Luka,
mm-hmm.
and those guys look dialed in and they look locked in. And I get it. Anthony Edwards is a bad man. And you're right. When he locks in, probably is the best player on the planet. But we're seeing just a different look in Dallas. And maybe they don't close them out game 5, but I think they close them out in game 6.
And that's fair. I mean, listen, I'm giving them like a 10% chance, which is probably high. They're down 3-1.
Yeah.
It's probably high, but I think everybody counted them out when they lost 3 straight to Denver, you know. And here's the thing: had Denver gotten past Minnesota, they were probably going to the finals. Denver's a bad matchup for
most teams.
For
Dallas.
I feel like again, if anybody can do it, I've become an Anthony Edwards believer. Okay, so if Dallas is going to lose in 7 to the Timberwolves, it's going to be because of Anthony Edwards. It ain't going to be because of Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to play out of his mind.
That's the X factor.
Yeah,
it's all Karl Anthony Towns.
I agree.
Karl Anthony Towns, because what's becoming apparent is Anthony Edwards. He's going to show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to show up a little bit more, just because it's going to take that. It's going to take all hands on deck.
Right.
Now, they're going against Kyrie Irving. And I mean, we could talk about Luka being a generational talent, right?
Yeah.
We could talk about how great he is. But I just always have felt that Kyrie Irving is cut from the same cloth of like a Kobe Bryant. And what I mean by that is, yeah, maybe he doesn't have the success of a Kobe Bryant, but he's a killer. And I think he's going to figure it out and always root for Ants. That is funny.
Well, you're talking about Kyrie, and I feel like Dallas is probably going to win the series. I'm not saying that they're not. Don't get me wrong, and don't misquote me. But if there's a team that has the opportunity to win 3 more games in a row and get super hot, it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not counting them out, but I'm not stupid either. And because they have a uphill battle to climb, and Dallas has 2 killers. They don't just have Kyrie. They have Killer 1 and Killer 1A. And actually, we've seen Kyrie and we've seen Luka do the same thing. It may not have been on as high of a stage as Kyrie, but
so let's get into it, because I've been hearing this a lot. Would you consider Kyrie and Luka the best backcourt of all time?
Go to the next. We're not doing this.
We're
not. Scott. No.
Uh,
No. What do you they like a year and a half together? No, it's not even close. They're not even on the chart. No.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and let's be fair, right? Who is on the chart?
As best backcourts?
Right now, I got Steph and Clay up there.
You got Steph and Clay. You got Isaiah and Joe. You got.
So let's go back to Isaiah and Joe, though. Isaiah was a bad man.
So was Joe.
Joe was a bad man, but no. I'm not going. And Joe Dumars, I don't want to disrespect you. You've done so much for the game of basketball, but when people think
about disrespect,
but when people think of that backcourt, you think of Isaiah Thomas. Like you'll give Joe Dumars his credit, but most people think of Isaiah Thomas
and Joe Dumars. When they play NBA Jam, they picked Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. That's what they picked.
I feel like some people might say maybe it was Microwave. What's his name?
First of all, he played for Boston.
They might even forget it was Joe Dumars.
No, everybody. Joe Dumars
was that guy. But greatest backcourts. Okay, so if I had to I say maybe they're the 10th.
Who?
Joe Dumars and Isaiah
Oh, okay.
Thomas.
I mean,
Yeah, they're probably the 10th. They're in the top 10.
okay. I mean, there's been a lot of good backcourts. I mean, I'm not putting Kyrie and Luka up there. They haven't won anything. They're the fifth seed. Let's not forget that yes, they might go to the finals, but they're still a fifth seed. So, and the West was tough. I get that.
But I think I think they are going to win, and I think if they do win, we might have to like give them like some consideration. I mean, it's a debatable question. I mean, and it's a lot closer because
and so you're just saying backcourt. So you're not saying duos, right?
no, I'm just saying backcourt. I'm saying two guards. You got Stephen Clay.
Yeah.
Some could argue maybe Russ and Harden. They didn't win anything, but that was a pretty good backcourt. I mean, Chris Paul, Harden, that was a good backcourt. They didn't win much, but I'm trying to think who won that was just a great dominant backcourt.
I mean,
that had two legitimate stars like Kyrie and Luka.
You don't really get that. You don't really get that too much because one of the two are gonna be big star, a huge star. The other is gonna be maybe a star or maybe a good or great player. They may not have gotten to the star part when they're teamed up with that. Because look at Magic Johnson, right? I'm not trying to go back into ancient times.
But you got Byron Scott. You know, I mean, Magic Johnson, Byron Scott. And I would agree with your statement. But that's why I think you could almost consider them one of the greatest backcourts of all time, especially if they win.
It's like, see, this is kind of cheating. This is because it's like, and we're gonna get to this Kyrie talking a little bit, but it's like they're both superstars in their own right,
right?
But it's not an organic build. Like Clay and Steph is organic. You know, they were drafted there. Even if somebody would have got traded there, it was like, you know. But it's like they've been together for a year and a half, and honestly. Kyrie is doing his thing. He did his thing this year. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like this is cheating, and not to mention, I didn't know we was going to talk about. You see, he's real sneaky, man. And so I got to think about backcourt. I could say Jordan and Ron Harper, you know, but
that goes with your argument before that
you're gonna have a superstar and you're gonna have just a guy, or I mean, which because you look at Hornacek and Stockton, they won a ton of games, but nobody. Yeah, he was there. I think didn't he play for Phoenix first? He played for Phoenix first. So, but regardless, it don't matter. That was his back.
So let's start about one. Jason Kidd, Vince Carter,
and he. Okay.
That was good. They didn't win, but
I mean,
that was
so. You know, I definitely got to think about this a little bit more because there have been some really good backcourts, but if you look at the star factor or the stars that Kyrie and Luka are, now it changes things. It kind of changes things. Like, all right, well. Kyrie is probably he probably has one of the best handles of guards ever, and Luka could probably shoot it from 50 feet from the basket, and Kyrie as well.
I mean, because even think about it from this angle, right? So, what if you put Harden with Kyrie? That was a pretty good. I mean, they didn't win. They didn't play enough games. Yeah, they didn't win, but on paper, you know, it would almost have to be that star caliber. So if you think about it, when that backcourt was revealed, people had it on paper as one of the best. So you start to get into the argument too. Is Luka better than James Harden. I'm
You
not
said, is Luka better than James Harden?
like
I mean, I think that's a little unfair too, because Luka only been in the league.
it.
Yes,
It is, yeah.
I won't say that because
It's unfair. I mean, James Harden did a lot of stuff,
James Harden is.
but you got to look if they win, which is looking like they will at least represent the Western Conference Finals, and if they can get past Boston, star power. I don't know of any other backcourts other than really Steph and Clay, and people would say that Clay is not a bigger star than either one of those guys.
So I'll say this. So because you said all time, but if we say in the current NBA, can we go use the current NBA? I think all time is
current NBA. I don't think there's a better duo. I mean backcourt, and in the current NBA, two guards on the same roster. I don't think you're going to find two better ones than Kyrie and Luka. So I think you have to do history. I think you can't even compare it.
Yeah, I mean, Luka's probably it is one of the best guards. Yes. I mean, you still have Steph and Clay, and I know they're older. Not Clay's washed.
You can't even. You can't even put Clay in this argument no more.
Oh man, yeah. I can fight that. No, who's Boston's point guard? Drew. Drew don't even start. I think it's what you call it. White.
Yeah, like right now it's not. So you have to go history. And I think the only thing that's trumping them right now is they haven't won. Now, if they continue to lose, I think it'll still be an argument, to where they haven't won, so people will hold that over their head. But if they win, and if they really have this chemistry that they're saying that they have,
they showing it. They showing that they got the chemistry. All right. I mean, right now the current NBA, yeah, I'll agree that they are the best backcourt in the league.
So let's get to Kyrie.
Let's go to winner of the week first.
No winner of the week.
I got winner of the week.
Okay, you have a winner of the week. Sweet. Go ahead.
I ain't got no winner.
Yeah.
All right, I ain't got no winner of the week. All right, we can talk Kyrie. Let's
talk Kyrie.
Does he deserve an apology? Now, I was gonna pull up something, and I don't feel like it. But I mean, there was a lot of talk of negative talk about Kyrie over the years. Not necessarily early in his career. Early in his career, it was the Cavs were bad. Then once LeBron got there, that actually took Kyrie to a whole nother level. Then he wanted to get away and be his own guy, which is kind of weird because technically you were your own guy the first 5 years of your career, but whatever. So then he went to Boston, that didn't work. Then he went to Brooklyn, that didn't work. And then when he came to Dallas, Dallas went from a playoff team to not even in the play-in, right? And I feel like now that they're winning, I feel like Kyrie. First of all, I feel like Kyrie is misunderstood. I've always felt that way. I've always been a Kyrie fan. I've always felt like, ultimately, like the media was picking on him for whatever reason, whether it was for the vaccine or any of the other things that he had to deal with. So if you ask me, based on what we're seeing now, because you can't lie about it, they didn't think, and when I say they, I'm talking about people talking heads on TV didn't think Luke and Kyrie was going to work. They didn't think it was going to work. And clearly, right now, it's showing that it worked. They had a full season, and I think Kyrie earned an extension. So You're looking like you don't believe that he deserved an apology. I personally think that he deserves an apology. Yes, he does.
I don't think he deserves an apology.
And
I'll tell you why. Now,
sure, tell me.
No,
The floor is yours,
I'll
buddy.
tell you why. So I've grown to like Kyrie Irving too. The Dallas Kyrie. Hey, you can't deny what he's doing.
Okay.
But that still doesn't change the fact that he did say anti-Semitic stuff. And
Did he apologize about it?
he did.
All right.
But you still have to live in that, right? So it's not like he was crucified. Like a lot of the stuff he did was self-inflicted, right? And I feel like what we're seeing now is we're just seeing the growth of him as a man. And part of growing is sometimes you just get held accountable and you got to face a lot of the consequences that come with some of your decisions. And I feel like they may not have been poor decisions to him. It might have been how he felt, but they were poor decisions in the eyes of the media and the eyes of everybody else. And he had to be held accountable for that. And I feel like that he went through that. Now, I don't think that we should continue to hold him accountable for it, but an apology? No, I felt like that now he kind of understands how to move. He's gotten grounded with his family. He's in the right environment. He's happy. He seems to be thriving. That's enough. And he can continue his journey of growth. But apology for everything that he did. Now, did he take a lot more criticism than most people? Yeah. But I do feel like he put himself in that position. And I think his stance, which is his stance and learning him is, okay, I'm with it. I can take all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he didn't back down. But with that, you got to accept everything that comes to you. You know, if you want to stand on it. So with him, if standing on business was a person, it'd be Kyrie, right? Because he always stands on business, right? Whatever he believes, he is going to stand on his business 10 toes down.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're standing, that comes with it comes with whatever it comes with.
So the fact that people, you know, they wanted him to fail, and they said he would fail. They said that he was the problem in Brooklyn. They said he was the problem in Boston. Now, I will say that Kyrie in Boston was taking on a different role, right? He was taking on a leadership role, or attempting to take on like a leadership role, and it didn't work, because we do know that it's fact that he contacted LeBron and talked to LeBron and said, pretty much, I appreciate what you was doing, how you was leading, blah, 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 blah. Whatever that conversation was, they talked about it. With that being said, Boston not gonna understand, he put himself in whatever. Now, when they got to Brooklyn is a whole different thing. And fast forward past Brooklyn, because I'm going to get back to Brooklyn in a second. Just walk with me for a second. When he got to Dallas, we didn't hear anything positive. We heard, what the hell is Dallas thinking? What is Dallas thinking? Why is Dallas trying to get this guy? Blah, 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 blah. All these negative things about Kyrie going to Dallas. Now, when he left Brooklyn, because he got traded to Dallas, right? Yeah, he got traded to Dallas. When he left Brooklyn, it wasn't just Kyrie's a bad teammate. Kyrie's this. He wasn't the only one that wasn't happy. KD wasn't happy. James Harden got the hell up out of there. On the first train he could find, he was out of there. And most of the guys that was on that team, the only person that's back is Spencer Dinwiddie. He whatever. But I don't think he's with LA now. But nonetheless, he was the only one that went back because he got traded back. It was like Brooklyn was a mess up top, and it trickled down. Brooklyn ownership was just bad, and Kyrie was the fall guy. Because if anybody probably should have been the fall guy, it should have been either probably James Harden, and I think it was enough blame to go around. Honestly, there was enough blame to go around. But Kyrie took took 90% of the blame, right? KD somehow always is able to weasel his way out of getting any blame for anything. Then you have again the negativity of Kyrie going to Dallas. Now forget Brooklyn, forget Boston. We're talking his time in Dallas. There was a bunch of negative talking, and they didn't do well. But that was like a chemistry thing. When somebody gets traded, we know how it is with trades. It could be really, really good, or it could be really, really bad. It just happened to be bad, but they had an off season to get it right. And all intents and purposes, Luka was second or third in MVP, and Kyrie. If you watch any Dallas basketball this year, you can tell that these guys genuinely like each other, and it was what it was. Those people that said all those negative things, that Kyrie's a bad teammate, Kyrie's this, Kyrie's that, have to apologize, because he's clearly not a bad teammate, and he's not this or he's not that. Now, here's another thing. Hear me out. What we don't hear about Kyrie from his peers is that he's a bad teammate. Who has said that Kyrie was a bad teammate?
So hold on. Now I can't let you get away with that, right?
Who said it?
But hold on. Follow me here, right? So before Kyrie went to Dallas, did he lose a lot of money?
Did who lose a lot of money?
Kyrie.
Yeah, because he didn't want to take the vaccine.
Fuck the
apology should have
but hold on. I'm going somewhere. Walk with me. All right, he lost a lot of money before he went there, right? And the stigma, quote unquote, was that he was a bad teammate. We weren't in those Boston locker rooms. We weren't in the Cleveland locker room. So I don't know what transpired there, but what I heard wasn't good. You know what I mean? And what most people heard wasn't good. Has it been validated? No. The Brooklyn stuff. I do agree with you that he shouldn't have been the fall guy for everything. Mm-hmm. That Brooklyn Nets situation was a dumpster fire. And it was enough for everybody to go around to everybody. But it does not absolve everything that Kyrie did personally to put himself in a situation where he was at the Dallas Mavericks. The team is not thinking about, he's got the talent. You can't deny that. Mm-hmm. But he became a liability off the court. Not that he
could. Dallas?
In general.
No,
hold on. He became a liability because you couldn't trust him. You didn't know if he was going to show up because he was taking personal leaves. He took a lot of those when he was in Brooklyn. He had the anti-Semitic stuff that he put on his page. You know what I mean? That he had to own. It was a lot of unnecessary baggage that he contributed to.
We need to go back to that anti-Semitic, because I feel like,
but hear me out, right? So he had all that going. He had the most to prove. He had to own that. You know what? I've got to get rid of this stigma that I'm a bad teammate. Mm-hmm. I have to get rid of this stigma that I am a liability. I have to get rid of this stigma. So I need to buy in to what's going on for Dallas if I want to get a big payday. Now, if you ask me, am I so that he's changed? Yes. Am I so that he's matured? Yes. Am I so that he's in the right situation now? Yes. Do I think he's owed an apology? Hell no.
And I think that you're wrong. I mean, so let's, because you brought this up. It's like we in court right now. You open the door. So Kyrie was forced to sit out. He was ultimately suspended because he didn't want to take the vaccine. Right? So he didn't want to take the vaccine for whatever reason. I got vaccinated. You got vaccinated. I know a ton of people that got vaccinated. I also know a ton of people that didn't get vaccinated. Right? Time goes by. I don't even think it was 2 years. I think this was in 2022. So 2 years after COVID, a year after 2 years after the bubble or whatever, or a year after they went back to the full arenas. There's a memo from, I think it was the CDC or something about not needing to be vaccinated, or I forget what it was. Not that you didn't need to be vaccinated. That people that didn't get vaccinated weren't at the risk wasn't as high as they as initially thought, or whatever. Something to that effect. And that the people that were sent home or were forced to leave work and things like that. It was a whole big thing in New York. At that point, Kyrie was talked about like a dog because he didn't want to get the vaccine. He was like the spokesperson for anti-vaccination or whatever. And I know people that don't believe in vaccine, whatever. That's, to me, I personally think that's very risky. But whatever. He deserved an apology then, because he from the local media, the national media, the whoever had a microphone or whatever talked about that man like he was a criminal.
You think he deserved the apology for that?
Absolutely, because especially from the NBA, because they forced him not to be able to play because he didn't get a vaccine.
So that was a choice.
No, dog.
No.
Once when the CDC came out and said, and it was. All right. So, yeah, we good.
Yeah. So, and this is my thing. You've known me for 25 years plus.
Right.
If you know all the consequences and you still make a decision based off of knowing everything and how it plays out, it just is what it is. I think that he made a decision. It wasn't necessarily right or wasn't wrong. It was his belief.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew what the outcome was going to be on it, and it was what it was. He decided that he wasn't going to get the vaccine. He didn't matter if he played or not, and that was his decision. But do I think that everybody owes him an apology? No, I think that nobody really understood. For themselves. Now, was he totally wrong? Nah, he wasn't wrong. He just made the best decision for himself. But again, I think we kind of beat the Kyrie.
No, I mean, it is what it's a conversation that needs to be had, because it's one of those where it's you think about black people in general, right? And I ain't gonna make this a race thing. I promise. I'm not gonna make it a race thing. But there's been plenty of times where black people have been falsely accused. They've gone to jail for some of some but stealing groceries or something.
Right.
And you have somebody that does the same thing that may be maybe Caucasian, and they don't get in trouble as much. And then years later, we just talked about it earlier about the records, right? But years later, it was, oh, my bad, we messed up. Or not even on my bad. Yeah, we messed up, dog. And that's it. No apology. And so the thing is, if you're telling me that I can't earn my living because I don't want to get vaccinated, and I don't believe, for whatever the belief is, and then a year later you tell me that, oops, my bad. I mean, or oops, you could have actually played in these games and not caused any harm to anybody else because you weren't vaccinated. You damn right. I want to apologize.
But that's for I think you can make that for all of like America and like the other countries and stuff. No, because hold on. I want to take you back too. It's a lot of people that had to get vaccinated for their jobs and lost their jobs because they didn't want to get vaccinated. Like the NBA wasn't the only like job required,
and those people deserved an apology too. They not only did they deserve an apology, they deserve compensation.
Yeah, but so I think if you go back to that time, nobody knew what was going to happen. People were scared, people were panicking, and a lot of decisions were.
That don't make it right, Scott.
It don't make it right, but I don't think
it's not hard to apologize when you fuck up. Excuse my language, but it's not hard to apologize when you're wrong.
I don't think they necessarily messed up. Like people didn't know what like the best route for protection was during that time. Like you didn't know if it was social distancing, you didn't know like if it was the mask. Like it was a lot of stuff that people were being made to do because they had no control and they had no knowledge of what was going on. So for the NBA to say, you know what, we think you should be vaccinated, and they were operating under the assumption that this was the best and the safest practice for everybody. And then you have a group of people that say, you know what, that just don't sound right. Okay, we can't fault them for questioning things and wanting to seek answers and needing more information. And you're right. He became the voice for people for that. But I don't think either side was wrong. I think if you chose to get vaccinated because you were operating off of the premise that this is the safest thing that you could do for yourself and your family, that's not wrong. You know what I mean? And vice versa. If you just say, you know what, I don't know enough information about this, I'm a little bit indifferent.
Right.
That's your opinion. But I don't think like he deserves an apology for that. I think he stood on his ground.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess we are gonna. I don't know what just happened with the camera. There you go. That was weird. I don't know what's. I'm telling you, I know this whatever. But yeah. But hear me out. If somebody stands on business, let me go back. If somebody says this is the rule, so the problem is, it was so many different types of rules. It wasn't like the NBA had. The NBA was going by the particular state, right? So had Kyrie been in DC, he wouldn't have had no issues, right? But New York, first of all, New York had a stupid rule because my thing is this: Kyrie can't play at home. He can't play in New York, but you're allowing outsiders to come and play that aren't vaccinated. That makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense. And then you have something like Toronto stood on business. That is the only place, and then maybe it's just because it's Canada. They're the only ones that stood. They said if you're not vaccinated, you can't come to Canada. And if you come to Canada, we're gonna lock your ass up. That's standing on business. That's for everybody. It ain't just you, because it made no sense to me, and I don't see how it makes sense to anybody else. That hold on, hear me out. That the person that lives here that's not vaccinated can't play. But the person that comes from out of town where you don't know what they got going on in their town is not vaccinated but could play. That makes no sense at all.
So you're right. It makes no sense. But what I'm saying for Kyrie is that's not the only thing that everybody is standing on. Like, if this was the only thing that he's ever done, good or bad,
then he's done way more good than people. He's
done a lot of good, but he's done other things to project that image. This is just one thing that's like, yeah, okay, maybe you know what? I'll concede and say, okay, maybe he does deserve an apology for that. But overall, with everything that he's had going on and everything that he's done, I think he need to kind of like show and prove and show that he was that guy. I mean, a lot of people had to see it. And I was one of them people like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know. The talent has always been there, but can he play with another caliber superstar other than LeBron? I had to be sold on it. And I'm not apologizing for the fact that I had to be sold on it. I don't think anybody should, because I feel like he put himself in that predicament.
If you're talking basketball, then I could understand that. But I have yet to hear somebody say that he was a bad team. That's you know.
So bad teammate is very subjective.
Well, hold on, no, not really, because that's what media folks was running on, was that he was a bad teammate. You can say now. I think leader is subjective because we're not in the locker room. But if you say he wasn't a good leader because of the thing that he did on the court, or he let his teammates down because he took time off, and here's my thing: we can't have it both ways, right?
No, I mean Jordan and Kobe were considered bad teammates for a lot of their careers.
Yeah.
But it was because they were holding their teammates accountable. Now, could that be possible for Kyrie Irving? Possibly, because it sounds like he held James Harden accountable, and that's why he wanted a trade.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by it. It can be subjective.
So not even necessarily that part. Right? I'm talking about, like, let's say, for instance, when I say we can't have it both ways, we always talk about making sure your mental health is okay. Your mental health, and he ultimately took time off to get his mental health right. Him going to his sister's birthday party, that party helped his mental health, being around his family. Like, so for people to try and judge him and say, well, he took time off and then went to his sister's birthday, it's his sister. It's his sister. So that, to me, you can't have. I'm not saying you. I'm just talking about in general. You can't have it both ways and say you need to make sure that your mental health is intact, but you can't take time off for your mental health because we want to see you shoot the basketball. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. And so some people that I use Stephen A. for an example, right? Because that was his go-to. You know, he's leaving his team stranded, but he goes to hang out with his sister, goes to his sister's birthday party. And I'm like, but you want to be one of the main guys talking about, you know, guys should make sure they have their mental health in order and things of that nature. And I me personally never had a problem with him taking time off. I'm like, well, he wanted to take time off. Nobody say anything to Kawhi when he just take weeks and a ton of games off. Kyrie hasn't. I mean, Kawhi hasn't played 60 games in Lord knows how long.
So it goes back to, again, you, certain people, and then other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a different perception on it. You know what I mean? Like, some people feel like, hey, you make that much money, like you got to figure that out. You get time off. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's, but I don't think that's necessarily fair. Right. But I can see both sides of the argument. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like those people should just owe him an apology. Again, this is what he decided to do, whether or not it was better for him or not. But he understood what he was doing, right? And he had to accept accountability for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he has, but back to the other premise, I don't think people should have to apologize to him for that. I think that he just, if he was right about so many things, time will tell and he'll get his flowers and he'll get his apologies. But right now, he just needs to be focused on winning the championship and continuing to be a quote unquote good teammate so he can get his back and then he can rub all other people's opinions back in their face or throw them back in their face.
Well, before I even say anything, say bye to Instagram because they're about to leave us.
All right.
All right. Instagram, we see y'all when we see y'all. But I think it's a good subject to talk about. I think it's there's going to be plenty of people on multiple sides of the fence. But there's going to be people on multiple sides of the fence. And that's fine. I mean, as long as the opinions are respectful,
Right.
then it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Kyrie is Kyrie, man. I think he's one of the most misunderstood guys in the league. But he's having a hell of a playoffs in general. Like he's when Luka's like, they're feeding off of each other, and I think that makes it even that much better. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Before we get out of here, I do want to say, so did an interview with Joe Powell yesterday. Joe Powell is a DB that plays for the Arlington Renegades of the UFL. And he had a really, really interesting story because he went from high school. He played some college, then that didn't work out, and he went from semi-pro to arena to a higher arena level to a lower arena level to a higher arena level to the highest arena level, which is AFL, NFL. He was with a couple teams in the NFL, and then now is in the UFL. I think that his story is dope. It was a damn good conversation, and I think that'll be posted tomorrow. And so check it out. It'll be on the Off the Record YouTube page. Also have an interview coming out, and I don't know when, but with Adon, my nephew. There's a safety at damn interviewing all these DBs. Okay. But he's a safety at Notre Dame. He talks about his journey from high school to college, the transition and things of that nature. So I mean, and we're inching closer to 300. 300. This is Sparta. But but yeah, man. So we got some things cooking, man, and I think that it feels like we just getting started. So we got more things. And he said he's gonna come on the show.
Okay.
He said he's gonna come on the show. I said I was telling him about you, and I think it's in the interview too. I forget what I said.
Now bring him on.
Yeah. So but yeah, man, we'll see if we can get Coach Barlow of the DC Defenders on the show. He coached at Virginia State as well as he's in DC. And we're gonna talk about the UFL next week too, because it's gonna be the last week of the season. Hey, could you stop putting your thumbs up in the camera, man? Keep on.
Oh, no,
yeah, but no, it was.
Oh, that's what that's doing.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, when you do two thumbs up, it gives like the.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Like so, do a thumb. Do a thumb. This man like stop. Do thumbs down. Do thumbs down real quick.
Ain't do it. Okay.
Work. But so Coach Barr coaches with DC, and what I was gonna say was we're gonna have a conversation of the UFL, right? Because there's guys that are getting called up, right, to the NFL. Once you get called up, you don't plan on playing in the UFL anymore. And I think it's affecting some of the teams, because now you're losing guys that you may have had for a couple of years, which is a good thing. It's a good thing but I think it affected some teams this year because you had some teams that were really good last year that weren't as good this year, and it could be because of guys getting called up. So yeah, man. So yeah, that controller been sitting there all day.
I do say we were live.
Yeah, you can put the joint on, man.
I've been trying. Yeah, I couldn't find it. Yeah.
So maybe he's lying. So anyway, man, I think that we're good. I think that's it. That's all we got this week. You got anything else, sir? All right, man. Well, shout out to the Negro League players, man.
Absolutely.
And do your research on that because I'm gonna find. I saw something that I was watching on the Negro Leagues, and it was like I might have been watching it on YouTube. I'm gonna find that joint and post the link because it was I couldn't stop watching it. I was like, God, and this was probably like 2-3 years ago, but I'm gonna find it again and I'll post that joint. But all right, man, this off the record. I'm Anthony Adebayo.
Boy, Scotty B.
We out of here.
Anthony Adebayo.
With you there, but if you're a coach, do you take that chance?
Yes.
You can reach us at the Off the Record Show at gmail.com. Anthony Adebayo and the most accurate sports coverage. Scotty B's Fantasy 5.
We're different from any other sports.
His sophomore year. Comes back and says, you know what?
And your boy, Scotty B.